Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the weekend update. I hope you all are enjoying this nice, extended, long weekend break. And before I jump into going over some of these stocks, I just wanted to mention briefly that, these long weekends, you should embrace them as a trader. Some downtime is a key if you want to be a successful trader for many, many years. You have to recharge those batteries. You can't go 100 miles an hour for months and months at a time. Whenever you have the opportunity to step back, especially when markets are difficult and it's like trying to force blood out of a rock, those are the kinds of markets where you step back, you recharge, because you know the mania, you know things will change eventually. So with that out of the way, let's take a look here at the 10-year chart. Hopefully the last time we got to talk about this for a little bit. You'll notice the headlines have kind of dissipated on the 10-year because they've done what they wanted to. We had this huge rally since February. Essentially, it was all chatter about the infrastructure bill and it was going to juice up inflation. And lo and behold, we had the infrastructure bill introduced by Biden this week and possible double top on rates because, as everyone knows, it's going to take forever to get anything through Congress, even with the side things that the Democrats could possibly do to push it. But that is a long way off and possibly seeing the 10-year move. Now, this is backed up by the action we've seen in tech stocks, but I'll go into that in a little bit. We're going to look at the Dow daily chart, more new highs. The sleepy do-nothing stocks have kind of flatlined, though, and that's a very, very good sign, because if we look over at the QQQ large cap techs, we broke out of this bearish falling wedge, which is a good thing, and we busted up above the 50-day moving average. Another good sign. Very good strength on Thursday. I mentioned that I liked what I was seeing, and it followed through a little bit on Friday, but Thursday was a very positive day and sets things up to look good for this upcoming week. We actually saw some small penny stocks starting to move, under $1 stocks starting to get some good volume. So the rest of the market, while these boring caps have kind of stalled out, what I saw last week, I'm very optimistic heading into this upcoming week. Quick look at the SPY again making an all-time high. But here's the Russell 2K, and you can see here on the Russell 2K, while we've got the Dow and the SPY hitting all-time highs, here's the Russell down here, but starting to curl up nicely. So there is a lot of indications that we could start to see that money move back out of the Z caps, because this huge stimulus plan is going to take a while to come to fruition. Now, huge jobs number on Friday. Market was closed on Friday, 900 plus K new jobs. So let's see where they take these stocks this week. Other than Tesla, which is really the only stock it seems right now, and let me pull up the Tesla chart. This seems to be the only stock that we need to see to give us an indication of how the market is. When this stock is doing well, the rest of the market seems to be doing well right now. That's going to last as long as it lasts. Well, while it does, we're going to keep an eye on that. One stock I do also keep an eye on is AI. Now, AI has gotten whooped during the last 2 months, and it has put in a bunch of false bottoms that has trapped me as well in some trades on it. Potential, another maybe bottom here, but if this was a stock that started to continue to rally up, this would be one that I would look to as a sign that, yes, things are turning around and starting to look like they were in December and January and into early February. So this is a stock that I'm keeping an eye on as well to look at that. Now, the hot theme this past week and continues to be Ethereum. So LGH, this was a nut kicker over the last couple of days. They came out with very, very good, at least I thought, earnings midweek, but the market sold it off, then bounced it back big. This is a company that came out and said they are going to have a 260% plus revenue increase in the coming quarter, but it still got sold off on that. Now, NFTs were doing very well on Friday. This one was down 30 plus cents, which made, or at least I thought it made, for a very nice entry. An entry we did around the 418 level. And a couple of hours into the day, it just fell out of bed. And the reason it did You can see here on GRNQ. GRNQ was another NFT play that research suggested they were going to get into the NFT market. And Benzinga came out and said, yes, they talked to the company and they said it's something they're exploring. And this stock spiked up nicely. Right after that, though, they come out and said, well, LGHL says they are not involved with it. And down the crapper this one went. Now, I still believe these guys are involved with NFT. And the reason I say that is the company they invested in a couple of weeks ago has press releases saying they're in NFT. Now, I believe the question asked of LGHL was the incorrect question. That happens many times, as we know, in the media. It can be very, very biased. It depends on what the question's asked. Now, the reason I was playing this stock was NFT. Yes, it's a crypto stock, blah, 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 all this other stuff. This was an NFT play for me. If I'm investing in a company that sells apples, orange, and bananas, and the reason I'm buying the company is because they sell bananas, and the company comes out and says, we're not selling bananas, I'm going to sell that stock because I bought it because they were selling bananas. This is not rocket science, guys. You'll see many times a lot of, especially new traders, traders who've not had much experience. Traders don't like to sell stocks for a loss, period. It's one of the hardest things to get over as a new trader. They think stocks only go up and profits. Every stock trade is a win. That's why probably 90% of people fail when they get into trading. You got to trade without emotion. And you got to trade with the reasons you're in these stocks. These guys, the reason for being in it ended, at least for now. May change later, but for now, this company said no. And that's when you move on. A lot of traders, especially newbies and rookies, don't like to take losses on stocks. Just because you sell a stock for a loss doesn't mean you go back in. But if you have a plan entering a stock and there's a reason you enter this stock and that reason changes, you move on. There's lots of other buses that are going to come around the corner that you can hop on, and that's how you approach trading. Now, back to GRNQ. Even with that news on Friday, we saw weakness in these NFT stocks. Now, even if LGHL or whatever hadn't come out and said what they said, that stock, based on the selling we saw early in the day, probably would have been under $4 anyway. Look at what Whiskey did. Whiskey spiked up. They actually had a press release, another press release. I think it's number 4 or 5, saying that they're NFT, and it gave up its gains after the spike. So there was just that negative bias on these NFT stocks into Friday. Now, that may change because Ether blew up over the weekend, new all-time highs. That is why I actually pivoted myself from accumulating Litecoin to accumulating Ether. It's this NFT thing. Ether could be way bigger than all of these other cryptos going forward. That is what NFT is based off of. And that rally on Ethereum this weekend should bode well for these stocks in this upcoming week. Even TKAT, which has not even come out with a press release, is still sitting up here and coiling higher. Monday is going to be very interesting on these. Oh, one last one. Two. CSCW. Now, this one also came out and have said that they are looking into NFTs. Now, this has a very nice chart pattern. We're going to look at it right here. This stock spikes up, comes down, consolidates. Spikes up, come down, consolidate. It's a very nice spot on its chart going into this week. Added back some shares on this one on Friday. Looks very, very nice here. If it follows this pattern of new highs, the next week could be very nice, especially what we're seeing happen in the Ether market. MKGI is another one in the sector. Now, these guys have a couple of pokers in the fire right now. Essentially, as you've seen from the research, their ownership of ScoutCam, the NASA space-related stock, essentially has this stock trading for free almost. Very nice chart set up here. Breakout, where will they come for it? Possibly 370, 360, 370. And there I go, messing up the symbols here. MDGS is the one, and we'll go over that in a minute. That is the undervalued play. MKGI is the travel company that looks to have interest in these other sectors. MKGI has the alternative, think Airbnb division for travel with everything opening up soon. And then they also have the gaming angle, the crypto angle as well. So a lot of these stocks have multiple sectors that they're involved in and sectors that could do very well in the near term. Actually, let's just mention or talk about MDGS right now. This is the one, we had the Cathie Woods Space ETF launched this week with a whimper. People not happy with the initial stock she had put in there. These guys march to their own drum. So if they think certain stocks are in their ETF, it's their call. But as I mentioned, this is a company, when you break down all the ownership interests they have, it seems very, very cheap. Now, this is also a play on the Biden stimulus plan because of the EV charging network they have here. And, you know, we may see pullbacks on these stocks and we may not. KIQ was the rail play on that. Had a nice pop, gave up that move on Friday despite its peer continuing to move higher. Now, if you're still swinging this stock and sitting on it, $1 looks to be a good support level because the bottom of the channel is down here at 85 cents. Now, sometimes a lot of these stocks just range up and down in their channels. It's one of those things you have to make a decision. Am I okay with it ranging up and down? Is my position sizing, and that's when it becomes key on position sizing, is my position size okay that if it dips down to 85 cents, I have no problem adding to it? Or if it dips down to 85 cents, I'm going to be crying and going, I'm ruined, when you shouldn't be doing that. These are questions you have to ask when you're entering stocks, especially in tapes like this. ACST, we haven't talked about this a lot, but merger plays have been doing very well. Under $1 stocks saw some good action on Friday. This stock, if they've stopped selling paper and if they come out with a merger press release that we've been waiting 6 months or so on, this could be very nice. Now, where will they really come for it? I think the 70-75 cent area on this chart, then you'll start to see this chart curl, and then you'll start to see traders eyeballing that move above $1. That would be a slow move up. Now, of course, positive press release would change all of that in an instant. ITP, and yes, there is lots of chatter about a toilet paper shortage due to shipping container crisis and just demand in general. These guys are still waiting on putting out this press release. Breakout freedom would be over the 50-day, 84 cents. But for now, I just have that as a nice bounce target. If I came in and told you when the stock was at 65 cents that in a week you have the potential for the stock being at 85 cents, you would be going, yeehaw, that's a 30% gain. But again, what happens many times with traders, they don't think that way when they see it. And you could see this stock at 85 cents on Monday, and the same traders would be going, well, now it could hit $1. You have to trade a plan when you're trading stocks and pull emotion out of the equation. UAMY, we are still waiting on news on this one. Hot sector right now. Tesla is driving the bus on all of these stocks. We're still waiting for that press release. Positive MACD cross potentially this week. Stochastics looks good. Breakout is 140. It's a little bit higher here at this one, 140, but I would really like to see a close over that 50-day. That's at 125 right now. It's been trying to break over it since it fell down with the big market sell-off a couple of weeks ago. So let's see if this stock can get above this level this week. Now, XPL, haven't talked about this one a lot. This is the stepbrother of UAMY, materials for battery storage. Still waiting on that press release, but this one was actually stronger the last couple of days of the week and is getting close to a downtrend break here and over the 50-day on the daily chart. That's at 90 cents. So positive MACD cross potentially by Wednesday. Stochastics down in the basement. So a lot of these stocks now are starting to turn, and that's a great, great sign going into this week. Last thing I wanted to mention about real quick, a couple of large cap stocks to keep an eye on. WYNN. Everything is starting to open up. You're starting to see lots of chatter about Vegas picking up. WYNN did a nice bounce. after sitting at its 50-day moving average for the last couple of weeks. So this could be, if you're looking for a large cap play, this is definitely one. Now, it's one I own long term, but the other one I own long term that also seems rather cheap in my eyes is GNOG, Golden Nugget. This is another gambling stock setup. It's had a significant sell-off with the market. It loves to bounce big when it bounces, so we could be in the beginnings of one of those nice multi-dollar moves here. So that's it for the video for the weekend, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy the downtime. Relax, and I will see you all in the chat room come Monday. Have a great weekend. Bye.